This is the beginning of tape number 3. We are back on the record at 1 p.m.
All right, so before we took a break, we were talking about the annual conference in San Jose. Is it in California? San Jose, California? Is it San Jose, or do you know where it is every year?
Objection assumes facts, not in evidence.
Do you know where the annual conference is every year?
It varies. It moves. It depends on which temple would host the annual conference.
Where is Ben Lee's Ben Lee's temple?
Okay, so if it is in Ben Lee Temple, it should not be in San Jose.
Okay, where is it?
It should be in Westminster, California.
All right. Do you remember the last time an annual meeting was held at the Westminster location?
Yes.
When was that?
It was in 2011. It was held there.
How about before that? Do you remember the time before that when it was held at Westminster?
Before that, it has to be the one in 2000. It was held in 2000 it was held in Seattle.
Okay.
And the location vary. So.
Yeah. Do you remember there being one held at Westminster Temple in 2004?
No, I don't remember.
Okay. Do you remember one being held there in 2006?
Yes.
Okay. How do you remember that?
By looking at the record.
Okay. And was that the same conference that we were discussing, or meeting that we were discussing before we took the break for lunch, where a delegation from Utah was going to come and complain?
Objection.
Not the same year, in 2009 or in 2006. The annual conference vary by location, and it vary by the number of the delegation being at the annual conference. It is all voluntary. It is an opportunity for the delegation to bring forward their concern.
So do you remember there being a time when a delegation from Utah came to the annual conference and was going to complain, like earlier you testified, about the way in which the money was being handled at the Phou Quang Pagoda in Utah?
Phou Quang Pagoda, yes.
Do you remember what year that was?
That was in 2005.
2005, perfect. All right. So do you know if there was more than one delegation coming from the Phou Quang Pagoda in Utah?
Coming from the Phou Quang Pagoda, there's always only one. If there was another, it would have been from a different pagoda or temple from Salt Lake City.
Okay. So then, to the best of your knowledge, at all times, there was only one delegation from the Phou Quang Pagoda at the 2005 annual conference.
Objection. Do you mean delegate?
What did I say?
Delegation.
Well, there's more than one person, so I guess delegation does actually work.
Actually, that's only one person. The delegation would not have the power to speak. Only one delegate would have the power to speak.
How do you become a delegate?
You become the delegate by being selected by the member of the congregation.
All right, so the congregation votes a delegate to speak on behalf of the congregation at the annual conference. Is that what I'm getting?
Yes.
Okay. What if the congregation elected 2 people? What would happen then?
That would cause a dispute.
Okay. Do you know if more than one person was claiming to be the delegate from the Phou Quang Pagoda at the 2005 annual conference?
What do you mean by making claims? Was it open?
Open.
Openly making claims that they represent the Phou Quang Pagoda?
Yes.
It did not enter into the record as such.
It did not enter into the record as such? Is that what you said?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you know if someone informally, or maybe not on the official record, more than one person was claiming to be the delegate from the Phou Quang Pagoda?
That's correct.
Okay. Do you know who those 2 people were?
Objection. Assumes facts, not in evidence.
No, I don't.
Okay. Was one of them Chan Lok?
No, Chan Lok could not be the delegate because he's already on the. He was a on the board for the Congress.
Okay.
He cannot be the delegate.
Was one of them Hoavo?
Objection asked and answered.
I cannot ascertain that.
So you don't know.
I don't know.
So how did you come to know that there might be two people claiming to be delegates from the Phổ Quang Pagoda at the 2005 annual meeting?
By the minutes of the meeting, that there was a dispute on who would represent the Phổ Quang Pagoda at the annual meeting.
Did the minutes identify any people?
I did not recollect.
And where are these minutes of the meeting kept?
The minutes of the meeting, of the annual meeting, is being kept in Westminster, California.
Would this be at the headquarters that we talked about earlier in the corporate binder?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know if that's been produced in this litigation?
They've been published. Normally, those are available for the public to view
So they're published where?
on the internet.
So if I typed in Westminster Pagoda Congress
No,
corporate, could I get it?
No, you
Okay,
won't,
how
you
would
won't
I
get
find
it like
it?
that. Okay, if you know what is the number, see, like the 2011 is the number 9 annual forum, and you type in like that, it will pop. So counting backward to 2005, it would have been the number 4 with it.
Okay, so the number 4 minutes from 2005? Is that a yes, sir?
Or number 3.
Or number 3 or 4?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then it will pop, it will publish who was the attendee, who was the member of the Congress on the board at that time.
So you testified earlier that there are monthly open forums of the Congress where you all appear by telephone. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. So do you also appear by telephone?
I do.
Do you ever go to one of the local temples and appear from there?
No.
All right. So are you the only non-monk that attends those meetings?
No, there is another one.
Who is the other one?
As a Professor Vo, AI, and then Vo.
Okay.
He's in charge of the international broadcasting for the Congress.
So he issues press releases internationally, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. Who issues press release nationally?
The press release nationally in the United States is from the temple in Westminster, California.
Okay. So when the Congress issues something, if I see a piece of paper, what about that piece of paper is going to let me know that this is an official congressional document?
It would say that, it would state clearly this is from the Congress, and it's signed by either the General Secretary for the Congress or the President of the Executive Board for the Congress.
And does it have a stamp or a seal on it?
It would have a seal. It's recognizable.
And who maintains that seal?
The Venerable Vinley, Thích Vinley,
Is there more than one seal, or is there just one seal?
there's only one seal.
And is it a stamp that you know of, that you put a stamp on a piece of paper?
No, it's not a stamp.
Is it a press?
No, it's not a press.
Okay, then how
it's
does-
printed.
So it's a printed seal.
Right.
Okay. So where does Mr. AIVO live?
He lived in Paris, France.
And he calls in monthly as well?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so earlier you testified about a person called Keen Gaia. I spell him
Kinzai.
Kiengiai.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know if he has any other names?
Yes.
What are those other names?
He just sent me an email. I don't recall, but because I've been calling him Kinzai for a long time. So
Is he also known as Gin Chong?
Kinchen.
K-I-E-N-C-H-O-N-G?
No.
You don't know him?
No, Kin Chun doesn't have G. C-H-O-N.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, C-H-O-N.
Yeah.
So like Chon. So is that his other name that you know of?
Yes.
Okay. Has he ever been known as V-I-E-N-G-I-A? Oh, I guess that's right. Never mind. Forget that question. I'll stop at that. I just want to make sure. Who can speak to the press on behalf of the Congress?
Who speak to the Venerable T.V.T?
Okay. Anyone else?
That's it.
Okay, and what's T.V.T's title?
Who?
T.V.T.
T.V.T. He's the president of the executive board, and he's the general secretary for the Congress.
As legal counsel, are you able to speak on behalf of the Congress as well?
No, I cannot.
Okay, so
Only in the legal matter.
okay, so if you're acting as counsel for the Congress in a legal matter, you can speak on their behalf.
Only to the legal matter.
Okay. When you were appointed as general legal counsel for the Congress in 2010, did they issue a decree of any sort?
It was publicly informed around November 18, 2011 at the open forum for the annual. It was announced, publicly announced.
And do you ever have occasion to meet with members of the executive board one-on-one?
Yes.
And during those times, do they ever give you any directions on how to act as legal counsel?
For the Congress?
Yes, for the Congress?
No.
So in one-on-one meetings with a monk, you've never gotten any direction on how to act as legal counsel?
No.
So how do you get your directions as to how to act as legal counsel?
From the Congress.
Okay, and how does the Congress communicate that to you?
At the monthly meeting or at the annual meeting.
So the only time you ever speak to the Congress, and I'm putting that in quotes, is at the monthly meeting?
That's correct.
All right, so at any time leading up to the monthly meeting, do you have any contact with members of the committee about the topics that may need to be addressed at the monthly meeting?
Let's see. The issue for the monthly meeting has to go through a committee, and the committee works for the Congress. Therefore, whatever I speak to the individual member of the Congress may not or may become a topic for the Congress. Therefore, I cannot answer yes or no to your question. It's too vague.
Okay. Have you, in your experience as general legal counsel for the Congress, have you ever had to call an emergency meeting so they could provide you with directions on how to act in a certain circumstance?
No, because I have not encountered that kind of situation that we had to call in an emergency meeting.
So how many litigations have you represented the Congress in?
For the Congress?
Yes.
This is the only one.
How many litigations have you represented one of the executive members of the Congress in litigation?
2.
Okay, what are those cases?
The one in Texas and the one in Phổ Quang.
Okay, so what's the one in Texas? Tell me about the litigation is what I'm asking.
Oh, it was a dispute about a piece of land, and the plaintiff want the congregation to pay more money after it's already accepted the full payment.
Okay, so which monk was it that you represented in that dispute?
No, I didn't represent the monk. I represent the congregation.
Okay,
So it is the Lotus Buddhist congregation and the Theravada Buddhist congregation.
So there are two Buddhist congregations in a dispute? Is that what I'm getting from you?
I beg your pardon? No, the dispute is we were the defendant.
Okay.
The plaintiff is the seller of that piece of land.
And was this a piece of land that was sold to the Congress?
It was sold to the congregation. It was not sold to the Congress.
Okay, sold to which congregation?
The Lotus Buddhist congregation.
Okay, that's what I'm getting. All right. And so you represented the Lotus Buddhist congregation. Were you specifically hired by them, or did the Congress assign you to defend them?
No, I was specifically retained by the Lotus Buddhist congregation.
Okay. Are you familiar with the litigation in Philadelphia regarding the title of a temple being transferred to the Congress?
To the extent that I have reviewed a certain record of that litigation, I was not particularly involved.
Okay. Do you know if it's been resolved?
There was a judgment.
Okay. Do you know what the judgment was for?
The judgment was for the title reverted back to the congregation in Philadelphia, and there were no damages.
Okay, so earlier when I asked you if any other time you've ever heard of the Congress holding title to a piece of land, why didn't you include that in that list?
The Congress never, according to the judgment and according to the facts, the Congress never held title to that piece of land. Okay.
Why not?
Because it was done by a fraudulent transfer, and the Congress was not party to it.
So the Congress did not know the land had been transferred to them in that situation?
That's correct.
Okay, and so they only found out about it
When
during the
lawsuit
litigation?
was found,
Okay.
yes.
How about other times? So, other than the one in Texas in this case, have you ever represented the Congress as their legal counsel in any legal dispute?
Would you consider personal injury?
Oh, so maybe you've had a personal injury action for like a car accident for someone in the Congress?
Yes.
Okay, so you've done that too as well?
Right.
Okay. And when was that?
One in October 2012 and one in February 2012.
And were these car accidents or?
Yeah, it was car accident.
Okay. And in the February and October, were those two separate car accidents? Or?
Yeah, two separate car accidents, two separate individuals.
And who were the individuals?
The one was the Venerable Thích Việt.
Spell that.
Việt, Huyyenviet.
Okay, and the other one?
The other one is the Venerable Thích Trí Lãng, T-I-R, and then Q-U-A-N-G.
Okay. Any others you can think of?
Everyone?
Any others that you can think of?
No, not other.
Have you ever seen an individual be assigned as the legal representative for the Congress in a given area?
No.
Okay. Do you know if Mr. Thon Tran was ever designated as a legal representative in the state of Utah for the Congress?
That was too fuzzy for me to make a decision because the record is not clear. Whether Mr. Tran was a legal representative because he was the general counsel at that time in Utah, or he was specifically assigned by the Congress to be its legal representative in Utah.
Okay. All right, so what documents did you look at to determine that the record was not clear on that point?
I looked what record was available, with the office of the Congress in Westminster, California.
All right. So let's talk about the actual transfer of the property in 2000. Okay, well, before we change topics. Okay, I'm going to hand you or show you what's been previously marked as Exhibit 105. And it is in Vietnamese, so I can't read it. But I believe it says that Thon Tran was appointed as the legal representative in the state of Utah. Do you disagree with that statement?
Where does it say that?
Well, I don't know. That's what I'm asking. I don't read Vietnamese.
Let me see. This is the one that was announced him being the general counsel.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So this is the announcement that appointed him as general counsel in
Yes.
2000.
Mhm.
Okay. Have you ever seen a document that appointed him as legal representative in the state of Utah?
Oh, this is the same one based on, let's see. Yes, this is based on the after effect of him being the general counsel. They also assigned him in 2000 to represent the Congress at the Phổ Quang temple.
Okay. So can you look at the boss page? Can you tell me who signed this document?
This is the Venerable Thích Trí Lãng.
And is that a seal there that appears?
This is not a seal for the Congress. This is a seal for the executive board.
Okay, so there's two seals then, one for the Congress and one for the Executive Board?
I'm not so sure whether this seal was ever been. It's not even legalized because this seal is not a legal instrument that was registered, with the state of Texas or the state of California. Because at that time, the Venerable Thích Trí Lãng is in Texas. He's a Texas resident. But this was signed for something that happened in California.
What do you mean what happened in California? What are you talking about?
Oh, it was, see right here, right on the top, if you see that? It is 424 Ramona Avenue, Monterey Park, California. That's when they convened in California and passed this resolution to appoint Mr. Tran in 2000 to be the representative of the Congress in Utah at the Phổ Quang temple.
Do you know, as a Congress, can you tell me whether or not this was valid?
For the Congress, I cannot tell you because this is not a seal for the Congress. This is the seal for the Executive Board. And the Executive Board is not a legal entity.
Okay, so you are the representative for the Congress today. Are you telling me that the Congress views this to be an ineffective document?
No,
the Congress did not issue
State's
this.
prior testimony.
Yes, thank you. This was not issued by the Congress. This was issued by the Executive Board of the Congress.
Okay, and so what's the difference between the Congress and the Executive Board of the Congress?
Well, the difference is that the Executive Board is not a legal entity, and the Congress is a legal entity registered in California.
Okay.
Okay, so.
But isn't it the Executive Board of the Congress?
I beg your pardon?
Isn't it the Executive Board of the Congress?
Yes, it is the Executive Board of the Congress.
Okay, so if the Congress is a registered entity and its Executive Board takes an action, do you not believe it binds the company?
Objection calls for a legal conclusion.
Well, you're asking me about the seal, so I'm explaining to you about the seal, and now you're talking about the action of the Executive Board would be binding on the Congress. The Executive Board action does bind the Congress, but whether this thing is a legal document that has a legal value, I would say not, because this was used by a seal that was not registered in any state.
Okay, so you believe this document has no legal value because it did not use the corporate seal. Is that what your testimony is?
That's it's indicate to me.
Okay, but you do admit, though, that the Executive Board has the authority to bind the Congress.
It does.
And do you have any basis to believe that this was not issued by the executive board?
It's so fuzzy because number one is that if you read it, there was a conference in Minnesota, and at that conference they passed a resolution, but the resolution was not issued in Minnesota, but it was issued later on in California, and it was signed by a Texas resident. So,
okay, but as a representative for the Congress, I'm just trying to get a feel for this. Do you believe that Mr. Thontran was not the legal counsel for the Congress in 2000?
Objection. Document speaks for itself.
there's nothing here to say that, but from my knowledge, from my recollection, he was the general counsel until he was removed from being the general counsel after 2000.
Do you know what year he was removed?
He was removed, I would say, sometime after around 2001.
So you believe he was removed in 2001?
Yes, because there was no other record indicating that he was the general counsel after 2001.
Okay, have you asked any, okay, I know that you only reviewed documents for historical information prior
Right.
to you being the legal counsel in 2010. Did you talk to anyone on the council and inquire whether or not Thontran was legal counsel to the Congress beyond 2001?
As the principle for the Congress, anything that is not written cannot be relied upon when it comes to the matter of legal. So therefore, any oral communication, if it's not converted into a written resolution, cannot be considered when I review the legal matter of the Congress.
So when was, where in the Congress's bylaws does it say that only written statements are going to be legally enforceable by the Congress?
There is no bylaw stating to that effect, but there is no bylaw acknowledging any oral communication to be the statement of the Congress.
So we're relying upon an oral pronouncement to say that oral pronouncements are not valid. Is that what you're telling me?
I'm telling you that any oral communication purportedly to be issued by the Congress cannot be trusted.
Okay, trusted. Why? Why can't you? Who better to trust than monks? I don't understand. You can't trust the monks?
We not never say anything about trusting a monk. It cannot be trusted to be from the Congress.
Okay, so do you believe if I were to show a person this document, would they have any indication that it was not a valid document from the Congress? And I'm looking at Exhibit 105.
Objection. Mistakes.
You're asking me, and I cannot speculate for anybody else. For me, there's too many confusing issues in this particular document.
Well, I'm trying to find out is if I understand that it's your position that this document is confusing. My question is, are you binding the Congress today to tell me that the Congress believes that this document is not legally effective?
Objection. Mistakes.
I cannot bind the
testimony.
Congress on anything until the Congress issue a statement concerning that particular question.
Well, then, so do I have to, in order for me to have a 30B6 of the Congress, do I need the entire board to be here for me to get authoritative testimony from them? Is that what you're saying?
That's not what I'm saying, because you're not asking me the same question.
Okay, well, you're here today as a 30B6 representative of the Congress. You are binding them in this litigation as their witness, not as their lawyer, but as their witness. You are the Congress today. And my question to you is it the Congress position that Exhibit 105 is not legally effective?
Objection. Misstates prior testimony.
As a general counsel and also as a 30B6 witness for the Congress. This document is too confusing for me to bind the Congress.
Okay, so in order for me to get an answer, I will have to submit a written request to the entire Congress and ask to appear at that monthly conference to get an answer to that question? Is that what you're telling me?
I'm not telling you anything because you are the council. You make a decision on your own. I'm only saying what I'm saying.
Okay, so you're telling me you can't answer as a 30B6 for the Congress as to whether or not this document is legally effective?
I'm not saying that either.
Well, you have to answer, sir, because you are
I
the
did
representative.
answer. I gave you a affirmative answer. There's no question. There's no rhetoric question that I asked you back, didn't I? She can vouch for me on that one. Did I give an affirmative answer to her question?
So you said you personally cannot bind the Congress because this is too confusing. That's what I heard you say. Was that your answer to my question?
Yes.
Okay, so then I do have to call the Congress as a group and ask them the question? Okay, well, I guess we'll have to do that then. That'll be a nice way. All right, let's move on then.
Well, I mean, again, I can't say, but is this the gentleman who's passed?
Dying. Yeah, he's dying.
Right, but the Congress can bind itself. They can look at this document and issue a determination as to whether or not it is legally effective.
If it's relevant.
It's highly relevant to the case. It's very relevant. So am I going to have to
Don't
depose
look
them
at
all?
me when you are discussing with my counsel. Don't look at me because I cannot participate in what you're talking to my counsel. If you're asking me a question, I will answer.
Okay, well, I asked you the question. So do you believe that if I were to ask the entire council to take up the issue of whether or not this is a legally effective document in 2000, that's a question that they would answer for me?
I cannot bind the Congress to that legal effect of this document because it's too confusing to me.
Okay, so I guess I'm going to have to submit a formal resolution. I guess I have to depose the entire council at the same time if your premise is correct that not one of them can bind. And he's supposed to be here as a legal representative of the Congress.
But if he doesn't know the answer to something...
Right, so then I guess we have to get another 30B6 person in here to answer some
all
questions.
the people that you've mentioned today, that have been mentioned today as people who would have information that you believe he's not giving you to on the 30B6 are all monks you've already identified. It's not difficult to say they're going to testify in their individual and 30B6 behalf.
Well, then that's what I want to clarify, counsel, and I will leave the 30B6 open at the end of today to make sure that I'm able to cover all of the topics. So we're going to have to go over time. So maybe we should figure out a way to give me a little extra time with some of those people rather than 4 hours if they're also going to cover some of the topics on the 30B6.
Well, there's only a couple topics. We'll have to figure it out at the end of the day.
Okay.
There's
All
very
right.
few topics that you won't be able to cover here.
I don't know. I'm saying a lot. He has no knowledge about any oral communications whatsoever between any of the monks and people from Utah. I think that's a huge part of this case.
And all of the defendants have used the same names, and they're people you're already going to be deposing.
We will see.
It's not hard.
Okay.
Well, part of his testimony, as I've understood it, is that he can't bind the Congress, but I mean his testimony is doing just that. It's legally binding the Congress, and he's also testified that no monk individually can act on their own.
Right.
So that would seem to indicate that no monk could come in here and bind the Congress either with their testimony, with their individual testimony. They would all have to be present.
It's a legal
and essentially
issue that you
vote on and decide on every single answer.
That's right. But it's a legal issue that you'll have to cross. That's a hierarchical church. It wouldn't be any different than if you were sitting in front of lots of other churches asking these questions.
Well, but when you designate a 30B6 person, you're supposed to designate the person that can answer the questions.
But I did.
Well, you haven't designated anyone until him today. You never indicated to me prior to just now that there were other people you were also going to designate as 30B6s.
I didn't realize that until we've been sitting here today. But you made it pretty clear. They're all people that you've already listed.
All right. So tell me when you first came to know T.V.T.
I came to know of T.V.T. when I visited the Phổ Quang temple in Salt Lake City, pursuing to the litigation being filed in Salt Lake City.
Okay. And did you meet him? Was he alone at that time, or was he with other people?
No, he was with other people.
And how many people was he with?
There are many people that he was with.
Can you identify any of them by name?
Yes, the Venerable Thích Trí Lãng, the nun Kính Tâm,
Spell
the
that,
nun
please.
Kính Không, and the Venerable Thích Kính Giải.
Okay, spell the nuns' names, please.
Kính Không, K-I-E-N, Không, K-H-O-N-G. Kính Tâm, K-I-E-N, Tâm, T-A-M.
Okay. And the venerable, who was the last venerable?
Kính Giải, K-I-E-N, and then Giải, J-G-I-A-I.
Okay. And what was the purpose of this meeting?
The meeting is to introduce me to Mr. T.V.T.
Okay. And does Mr. T.V.T. have any leadership at the temple that you know of?
Yes,
What is his role?
he was one of the congregants to the temple.
So he was a member of the congregation?
Yes.
Does he have any other leadership role at the temple?
Yes, I saw him to be one of the co-applicant in a loan that was made to purchase the Phổ Quang temple.
Okay. Do you know if Mr. T.V.T. is a member of any other Buddhist temple in Salt Lake?
Yes, he also attended the Liên Hoa temple in Salt Lake City.
Does he still attend that temple?
Yes.
Do you know if he has any leadership roles in that temple?
What do you mean by relationship?
Not relationship, leadership roles. Sorry.
Leadership role? He's a member of the executive board at that temple.
So earlier you testified that you believed that Mr. Vo, Mr. Tran, and Mr. Van had violated the tenets of Buddhism by seeking to transfer the pagoda into their own personal property. Is that correct?
No, objection to that.
Okay, you didn't testify to that?
No.
What did you
I said
testify?
converting. That's two different things than transferring.
Okay, converting.
Right,
Okay, so then it's your testimony they're trying to convert it into their personal property.
right.
All right. And where did you learn that from?
I learned by various activities that had happened when they took the action to evict the nuns and locked out the monk, obstructing them to perform their religious duty at the temple.
So did Mr. T.V.T. ever tell you that he believed that Mr. Tan Tran was trying to get the temple into his personal name or take possession of the temple himself?
I'm not recollecting anything specific to that effect.
Did anyone ever tell you that? That they believed that Mr. Tan Tran was trying to take the land for himself or take the pagoda for himself?
I read, let me see if was it in the allegation? I only get that impression because of the allegation that Mr. Fan, Mr. Tran, Mr. Vo has made some action without getting the permission from the Congress.
Okay. So is it your position then that they're acting by not getting possession of the Congress or their congregation of the pagoda?
I believe that, well, from reading and also from reviewing the document that was in possession of the Congress, it is, they indicate to me, I mean, I'm talking about the document, indicated to me that Mr. Phan, Mr. Tran, Mr. Vo is trying to convert the community property into their personal property.
Okay, so do you believe that members of the congregation of the Phổ Quang Temple also believe that?
I have read affidavit from the congregant of the congregation indicating that their displeasure to the way of Mr. Tran, Mr. Phan, Mr. Vo handling the financial affair and also to the maintenance of the property of the Phổ Quang pagoda.
Whose affidavits have you read?
I have read several affidavits. There was a stack of 15, 20 affidavits.
Have these been produced in this litigation?
I believe it was part of the pleading.
So you believe they were attached to the pleadings?
There were a number of affidavits in support and in opposition to the various TROs.
Okay, fair enough. So
And
are those the
preliminary
ones that you
injunction.
looked at then, those affidavits?
That's correct.
Okay. Has the Congress made any attempts to ask the congregation or the members of the Phổ Quang Pagoda who they believe should have ownership of the title to the pagoda?
They did. That's why between 2004 and 2008, they attempted to have certain remedies, amicable, peaceful remedies before resorting to the legal remedy.
So you think during that time they asked who should hold the title?
They did.
Do you know to whom they asked that?
They asked the one that provided the affidavit and that order.
Do you know if the people who provided the affidavits represent a majority of the people who attend the pagoda or not?
The people who provided affidavit represented the body of the congregation who attended the most to the daily activities of the Phổ Quang Pagoda.
Okay, so how did you make that determination?
Because every time I came to the Phổ Quang Pagoda, I saw them there.
Did you ever go? What days of the week did you go?
During the week, during the weekend.
Did you ever go on days when Mr. Ho, Mr. Tran, and Mr. Phan were attending services?
Yes, I saw them. Mr. Vo and also Mr. Tran on one occasion at the temple, and I believe that one of the relatives of Mr. Vo was walking a puppy on the ground right in front of the temple.
Okay.
So
what date was that?
I don't remember the exact date, but it was in cold weather. It must be late 2011 or early 2012.
And when you tell me that story, why is it relevant to you that he was walking a puppy?
Why was it relevant to me to be there?
No, why did you think telling me the story that he was walking the puppy was relevant?
Because as a Buddhist practitioner, you don't walk your dog right in front of the statue of Buddha, because you know what a little dog would do to that statue, right? He's going to get one leg up on the statue and pee all over the statue.
So you found that to be disrespectful. Is that what you're telling? Is that why you told me the story about the dog?
Yes.
Okay. Did you say something to him at the time?
At the time, no, I wouldn't say anything to him, because before that, there was an incident when people tried to ask them not to film, not to record on camera the activities of other people who did not wish to have the picture taken. There was a violent reaction, and the police had to be called to separate the parties to keep peace.
Who acted violently?
I believe that the one who was taking the camera, I don't know if it was Mr. Hoa Vo or Mr. Chick Fan was putting the camera right in front of the face of the nun. And there was an affidavit concerning to that matter.
And who became violent? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Actually, Mr. Hoa Vo became violent.
What did he do that was violent?
Well, he was making some verbal abuse, to the nun.
What did he say?
I don't remember what he said, but the nun complained that was disrespectful to her. She was scared.
Were you there when this occurred?
No, I was not there when it occurred.
And so who called the police?
One of the members called the police. One of the congregants called the police.
Do you know what happened?
They were told that to keep away from each other. And I believe that Dallas also were called to be informed about the incident.
So you indicated, I asked you, the start of this whole line of discussion was I asked whether or not you had taken any kind of survey or poll of the congregation of the pagoda to determine who they believe should own the title. And you had indicated that you had you've seen affidavits from people, 15
Right.
people or so.
Right.
Okay. Do you know how many people attend the pagoda on a regular basis?
The day I was there,
No, any day. Do you have any idea how many people actually attend?
on the major event, that should be in the hundreds.
Okay.
On the regular basis, there would be about between 30 and 60.
Do you know if those people that you have affidavits from represent the majority of the people who attend the Phổ Quang Pagoda
Regularly,
regularly?
yes, they would be the majority.
How did you determine that?
But a number of people that I observed.
Okay, so you went in, how many times did you observe people at the pagoda? And by the way, would this be between 2004 through 2008?
No,
So when did you observe?
in 2011 and 2012.
Okay, so then I thought we had started talking about determining who should own title earlier than that. Did you make a determination between 2008, 2004, 2008 as to who should own the pagoda?
Objection asked and answered.
When you mean by we, you're talking about the Congress.
I am talking about the Congress, sir.
Yes. The Congress has made that determination based on the testimony of Mr. Tran that
Okay.
he willingly and that he being forced to transfer the title to the Congress because the majority had forced him to do so.
Okay, so you learned that from Ton Tran's deposition?
Yes.
Okay, did you read his deposition in its entirety?
Yes, I was
Okay.
there.
So did you also learn that Ton Tran expected to have the title returned to the pagoda once the dispute with Tay Fan had resolved itself?
Let me see. I didn't hear that he expected based on factual. He expected based on a legal theory.
Okay, you're saying he didn't expect it based on a factual, he expected it back on a legal theory, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, so what legal theory do you think he expected it back on?
I don't know. He didn't tell me.
Okay, well, he didn't talk to you at all, right? You're just reading his deposition, is that
That's
correct?
right.
All right, so you have no recollection of having read his deposition and where he explained that there was a dispute with Tay Fan. Did you read that part of his deposition?
I read it, but actually it was not a dispute that he had with Tay Fan. He disagreed with Tay Fan. So I didn't see that it's being a dispute.
So when if the Congress, why is the Congress deciding to honor the wishes of some members of the congregation, but not wishes of the other members of the congregation?
Objection misstates.
Well, the
practice.
Congress, yes, thank you. The Congress is obligated to follow the majority, and it's already been confirmed. Ms. Tran confirmed that.
Mr. Tran confirmed what? I'm sorry, sir.
That the majority want him to transfer the title to the Congress.
Okay, in year 2000, is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. So do you know if the majority of the congregation wanted him to transfer the title in 2001
Objection, relevance.
To whom?
to Congress?
There was another transfer to the Congress?
Well, I'm
in
asking you,
2001?
do you think that that the congregation continued to want that the land be transferred to the Congress in 2001?
Objection, hypothetical.
After the fact that it's already been transferred in 2000, nobody asked the congregation after that.
So after 2000, you never asked the congregation whether or not they wanted the title back.
After 2000, the Congress never asked the congregation whether the title get transferred back. Is that what you're asking me
Yes.
now? There was no reason.
Why was there no reason?
Nobody asked the Congress at that time.
So it's your testimony then that no one for the Phổ Quang Pagoda from 2000 up until 2011 ever asked that the title to the land be returned to them.
Okay, well, I can object that your question. Let me say this. There was no majority that have ever asked the Congress to transfer the title back to the Phổ Quang title back to the three defendants and their association or their society.
So at what point in time between 2000 and 2011 did the Congress do any surveys or polls or inquiries of the membership of the Phổ Quang Pagoda to determine whether or not the majority continued to want the Congress to hold the title?
Objection, relevance.
The Congress making a poll to determine whether the majority wanting to have the title transferred back to the three defendants. Is that what you're asking me?
Not to the three defendants, but back to the local community.
Objection,
Okay.
relevance.
So after the community has decided to transfer to the Congress, you're asking me that whether the Congress has made a decision to check with the community whether they want it back?
Yes.
The community persists that they don't want the title back.
Who in the community persists that they do not want the title back?
The person who has signed the affidavit that we received in 2011.
Okay, but how about during the interim, during 2000 through 2011, did anyone ever continue to persist to the Congress that they did not want the title returned back to them?
Objection, relevance.
Okay. During the interim, there was no written demand or there was no written suggestion that the Congress would transfer the title back to the community.
Right. I understand there was no written decision that they would, but did they ever entertain a request?
The Congress always entertain questions, but whether those questions pertain to the transfer of title from the Congress back to the community in regard to the Phổ Quang Pagoda, it was not on the agenda.
Okay, it was not on the agenda, but do you know if anyone at the Congress ever received a letter, an email, or any other type of writing from anyone at the Phổ Quang Pagoda in those 10 years saying, give us back the title?
Objection,
Okay.
relevance.
And has those communication been produced to us?
Yes, they have. But
They
have you seen them?
I saw the one. It looked like Mr. Tran has made a request, but it's not very clear to me that he has made a request that the transfer going back. It was more like he was asking that he can stay on as the executive member of the Phổ Quang Pagoda. So if you want to show me the document that you are relating your question to it, I would like to entertain
Okay,
the question.
I will do that. Can you help me get it more narrow, though? I believe, ask him to tell me the specific location for that. While we're looking at those documents, so I can get the translation set, do you know if the association, which is the Vietnamese Unified Buddhist Association of Utah, is an affiliate of the Congress?
Do I know? I can say for sure that the association by itself has not signed any document to be the affiliation to the Congress.
Okay. Do you have any affiliated pagodas in the state of Utah?
By their action, yes.
Okay. Which pagodas are they?
Phổ Quang Pagoda,
Okay.
Liên Hoa Pagoda.
All right. So when the Phổ Quang Pagoda first affiliated with Congress, what steps did they have to take to become affiliated?
They have to act in accordance with the Congress standard.
Okay. Did they have to write a letter or send a letter or anything like that?
No.
Okay. So in order to be accepted as an affiliate of the Congress, what does Congress have to do?
Objection. Vague.
The Congress doesn't have to do anything. It depends on what the congregation would ask the Congress to do.
Okay, so I say, I'm a congregation, I say, I want to be affiliated. Do they say, you're affiliated, and they're affiliated? Is that all that happens?
No.
What happens
the
then?
Congress will say, show it to me.
Show what to you?
Show it that you want to become an affiliation of the Congress.
And how would you do that?
There's many ways.
Okay,
First, you would invite a monk that is affiliated with the Congress to come to visit with you.
so were you aware that the Vietnamese Unified Buddhist Society of Utah asked to be affiliated with the Congress? Did you know that?
Yes.
Okay. Did you know that the Vietnamese Unified Buddhist Association of Utah, Society of Utah changed its name to the Vietnamese Unified Buddhist Association of Utah?
Objection. Legal conclusion.
Did you know that?
Yes.
Okay. So how did you come to know that the society changed its name to association?
By the production from Mr. Tran.
So you didn't know until this litigation?
That's correct.
Okay. So when the society changed its name, did it have to do anything with Congress?
Objection. Legal conclusion.
What do you mean by
Like,
doing anything?
Did it have to submit a name change, request approval of its name change? Did it have to do any of those things?
Objection. Legal conclusion.
It is not required, but if it follows the tenet of Buddhism, it needs to come clean. It needs to disclose on its own volition, voluntarily disclose the information.
So do you know if they hid it? Was it secret that they changed their name?
They didn't do it.
They didn't do what?
They did not disclose that they changed their name.
How do you know that?
They didn't send any kind of communication to the Congress that they had changed their association name.
Did they ever send any communication that had the name change on it to the Congress?
They didn't.
So it's your testimony then that what appeared at the top of their documents never altered during the entire time they had communications with the Congress?
Objection. Vague.
I don't know what document are you relating to.
Do you know if at any point in time, well, how about this? Do you know if at one point in time when the society was writing the Congress, they signed the Vietnamese Unified Buddhist Society of Utah, and then at one point in time they changed to the Vietnamese Unified Buddhist Association of Utah?
Objection. Assumes facts, not an evidence.
I'm not so sure that they did anything like that, because it would have been in Vietnamese, and the Vietnamese name has many misspelling, not misspelling, but misuse of the legal entity name. So it was not possible for me to say whether they did disclose that to the Congress, that they changed their name.
Does it matter if they disclosed it or not?
Well, you cannot say that it does not matter or it does matter, because it's all boiled down to, has you been truthful? That is one of the tenets of Buddhism. You want to become an affiliation of the Congress? Number one thing is that you voluntarily disclose you're being truthful. And if you don't think that being truthful is the aspect of the association or the society, you're already refusing to be part of the affiliation of the Congress.
So let me ask you a question. Has the Vietnamese name of the group ever changed?
Objection vague.
Do you know? Like, can you read this right here? Has that ever changed? Do you know? In the entire existence of the Pho Quan Pagoda's organizing group, has their name in Vietnamese ever changed?
All right. Okay. You want my?
Wait a second. What is this document you're showing him? Is it an exhibit?
No, it's not. I'm just showing.
Are we
it's one of
marking
the
it as
rules
an
of the
exhibit?
meeting.
Not yet.
Okay. As I said, is this an exhibit? Are you
All right,
marking it as an
okay.
exhibit?
This is right here is